Mary is asking about press releases. Sandra Beckwith from Build Book Buzz, we just love her. Sandra Beckwith on Build Book Buzz is an absolute, you have to follow her, guys. She's fantastic. She knows that Sandra teaches how to write them yourself, but Mary and her clients would like to have them written by a seasoned press release writer with a great track record. Can I suggest anyone great? And does New Shelves do them? Well, yes, New Shelves does do them. And I would be happy to do them for you. You're asking how much is reasonable for a top-notch press release writer and how much you should pay. I'll tell you how much I pay. I pay $300 for my top-level press releases, and I pay $200 for book announcement press releases. So that is how that works for me. If you need a press release written about a major event that you are doing, or the launch of a new business, or something that's slightly more complicated, I pay $300 to my copywriters. I pay $200 to, there's a couple of different people that I use for book press release announcements to let people know that a book is coming out and what all the details are. So if you're curious about press releases, we would love to help you here. I will introduce you to people that I use. You don't need to hire us. Mary, you in particular, you can definitely just reach out to the people I use. I'm happy to share them with you. I use Keycore Media. Steve Miller at Keycore Media is great. I use Andrew McGurran. There's a number of people I use. So we will hook you up with all of them. There you go, Mary. Thank you for that question. I'll put that over there. Let's see what we have live questions. Let's see what's happening live. Kathleen says her book is printed. What do I do with additional reviews? All right, now Kathleen, I believe you also emailed me. It may have been another Kathleen. Let me look real quick. It was another Kathleen. It was not you. My apologies. It was oh, it was you. Okay, your book is published. We didn't get to this question last week. Kathleen, I'm sorry about that. You have two questions here. Other than adding further reviews, what should you do with additional reviews? And you're asking what's the difference between a review and an endorsement. So let's get into this. Kathleen, you're asking the difference between a review and an endorsement. Let me give you my take on it. You can Google this to go deeper, but this is pretty much, you'll find that this fits what most of our industry considers to be the difference. An endorsement is an opinion, publishable, an opinion given to you by somebody who's an expert in your industry, or somebody in your industry who is not in the book or publishing industry. Let me explain. An endorsement from another author means that somebody in your genre, you've sent them the book and they've given you a few lines, their opinion of your book, and they give you permission to share it publicly. A review is posted either on a site like Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com by a reader. So you can have reader reviews, and you don't even have to be in books if they're reviewing TVs or eyeshadow. But a consumer review is something that is left on a site that is designed for reviews, such as Amazon.com customer reviews or Barnes & Noble customer reviews. Reviews can also be written by bloggers or by journals, magazines, newspapers, people who make a living and actually have a site dedicated for writing reviews. But if somebody who is not a professional book reviewer or a consumer gives you their opinion, that you in most cases it's asking for an endorsement or a testimonial, and we're going to talk in a second how not to confuse those two. In the media industry, especially in the retail world, if you ask someone for an endorsement, now not so much in the publishing industry, but an endorsement sometimes to some people indicates that you're willing to compensate them for it. I don't know if you know, but several sports figures, they enter endorsement deals with Nike, or they've gotten or musicians have endorsement deals with Taylor Guitars or with Elixir Strings. That means that they're getting something in exchange. So when you're asking somebody for their opinion on their book, if you're asking an author or a high-level person in your industry, or somebody, if you've written a nonfiction book and you're asking a CEO of a major company, you're not asking them for an endorsement in most cases. You're asking them for their opinion or for a testimonial. An opinion or a testimonial about you, your book, your techniques, your authorship, that is generally given freely. An endorsement in some industries and in some cases is quid pro quo. There's an exchange for it. So be careful when you ask for an endorsement. But when you're asking for a review, you need to be asking a media outlet, a blogger, a newsletter, a newspaper, a TV station. Those are, and go to professional book reviewers, or there's reader reviews. Now, Kathleen, if you've gotten testimonials or endorsements or reader reviews that were not posted on a reader review site, let's say a reviewer, a reader sent you a lovely email. If you have those, there's tons of things you can do with them. You can create a post that you start putting on Facebook. Let me show you. Let me see if I can call one up really quick. But let me share with you real quickly some of the reviews and what we've done with them and endorsements. You can create a very quick social media post based on some of these reviews and start sharing them with people. Let's see, our clients. Another thing you can do with reader reviews, if the readers did not post them online, and because either they were being blocked or they didn't get to them, you can take those readers' reviews, ask the person who emailed them to you if you have permission. But if you have, let's see, TBA Graphics, Instagram. All right. So if you've got a wonderful review from them, you need to ask their permission before you use it. So here, I'm going to share my screen very quickly, guys. I hope this is okay with you. I'm going to share my screen just so you can see. This is what we did with one of our endorsements. Now, somebody said, reading this book, I feel like I'm cutting to the head of the line. But there was no place to put that. The book was already out. What do we do with it? What we did was we created a quick little hot and fast thing to put up on Instagram and Pinterest, and we started sharing what Elaine Wilkes said about our book. So that's one thing you can do with it. Another thing you can do with reader reviews is you can ask them if they tried to post it on a public place like Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Would they be willing to post it online? Would they be willing to share their review on their Facebook page? Are they willing to do that? Send them a copy of the picture of the cover of your book and ask them if they post it that way. But if they've given you a testimonial or an endorsement, if they're not readers, if they're actual legitimate people who are in your industry, I would start sharing on social media. I would definitely go to authorcentral.amazon.com and put them in as your editorial reviews. So Kathleen, that is all the answers I have about the different ways that you can do. You can post them on social media. You can, if you're print on demand, you can eventually put them in your book and re-upload the file. You can ask them to post them on their social media or on reader review sites. But if it's endorsements or testimonials from other authors or from high-level CEOs or people from your industry, definitely include them in your editorial reviews on Amazon.com by going in through authorcentral.amazon.com and putting them in there. All right. Sonia's asking, she says, happy Friday. Hello, Sonia, how are you? Am I familiar with the Tribune news service? I am. Let's see, Tribune Content Agency, I am. Their application asks about number of followers. How important is it to have a lot of followers to have your contributions accepted and disseminated? It is very important. Sonia, any media agency that is considering you and is definitely interested in using you for content, they're going to want to see that you can give them as much value as you're giving them. That you can give them as much value as they're giving you. If they're going to distribute you, They want to know that if someone clicks on your social media profiles, that you've got tens of thousands of followers. That's the minimum. You need tens of thousands of followers. If, it doesn't hurt to apply and to try and get in. Maybe your content will be so unique and so needed that they'll overlook their minimums. But for the most part, there are different services that are even agents will often not consider an author unless they've got 10,000 followers or more on the different profiles. You have to draw a line somewhere, and with thousands of people submitting to Tribune and with thousands of people submitting to agents, they will quite often say, this may be a great author, but they don't have enough followers. Come back to me when you do. All right. Suzanne B, it's nice to see you again. Yes, I know we met at Writer's Digest. I'm coming back to Writer's Digest next year. I hope to see you there. That Thursday session was a lot of fun. You're asking about your memoir because it isn't published yet. What do you put on your website in terms of visuals? Suzanne, even though your memoir isn't published yet, do you have the cover done? Because the cover should be done 6 to 8 months before the publishing date, ideally. You should have the front cover at least roughed out 6 months before your published date. So I don't know when your memoir is coming out, but are you working with a cover designer right now? Because that is one of the visuals you should put up. Another set of visuals, especially if you're going to write a nonfiction, a memoir book, if you're going to be out doing events and speaking, there should be some shots of you standing in the front of the room, gesturing to someone, or answering a question, or raising your hand. There should be some action shots of you speaking. And if you don't have any, go get some. It's time to start working that out. Getting real photos of you. If you go onto my social media and onto my website, you will see lots of pictures of me standing in the front of rooms in front of a PowerPoint presentation or talking with other people. Action shots of you consulting, action shots of you speaking. If speaking and doing events is not part of your plan, if you're going to do everything online, let's say you're just going to do webinars, then screenshots of some of your PowerPoint presentations and some of the materials that you're using for your book. Perhaps you want to create some visuals based on the content of your book. Now let me show you another example of what you could put on your page. Let me hit share screen again. So Suzanne, if you don't have your cover done, but you do have the content of your book ready, you can create, let me hit share. Let me show you another example. You can create a tip from your book and forget the cover. If the cover's not ready, at least have something like this where you say tip number 1, tip number 2, and the name of your book. The name of your book and a tip or a little snippet from it will help you get the attention of people who are going to your page. So there's 3 ideas of things that you can do right away to share some visuals on your page. I hope that's helpful. Anna, you're saying, is the workshop still on in Washington, D.C.? It is not. That's what I want to talk to you about. We only had a few people sign up. We're thinking it's because they're a little busy at the end of February. It may be Washington, D.C. So we are moving it to New York City. I want to talk to you about that. I'll talk to the rest of you guys. We have a live event that we were running February 29th in Washington, D.C. and it is now April 18th in New York City. And I will happily refund your money. I'll work with you one-on-one. I'll refund your money and give you some consulting. I'm so sorry. But our workshop on how to optimize your business plan, your marketing plan, and your pitch kit so that you can get an agent and you can get published has been moved to April and has been moved to New York City. And I am so sorry about that, guys, but Anna, I will get in touch with you and we've got all the new stuff we're announcing next week and we'll take together. Jennifer, thanks for that tip. I really appreciate it. I will figure out what's happening. All right, let's answer a few more questions that were emailed and then I'll get to Karen's question. Guys, remember, if you want to email me over the week, you can always email me at questions@amysadvice.com, or you can go to amysadvice.com and you can join us live. You can sign up to join us live. And finally, feel free to go to, I'm going to drop this into Facebook. Feel free to go to facebook.com/groups/free advice Friday. If you join us at the Free Advice Friday group, you can ask questions there. I am happy to answer them. Let me take a quick look at what's going on Facebook and make sure that I'm not missing anything there. But it looks like everything's under control, which is so rare for me. So I'm thrilled. Jane saying hi. Hi, Jane. I hope your trip to California was amazing. I can't wait to talk to you. Alfredo, Vicky Fitch, I'm a huge fan. Any friend of Vicky's is a friend of mine. Hey, Vicky, I didn't know you were on. It's good to see you. All right, so I'm going to get to the Facebook Live questions. But let me answer a few more that came across last week that we were unable to get to. I'm so sorry about that last week. All right, that was Karen's. We answered hers. Wendy is asking about copyright. Wendy, I hope you're on today. I've answered this before, but I'm always happy to answer this again. Wendy has a book that came out and was copyrighted in 2016. She's coming out with a new edition in 2020. And she asked about what copyright date to put on her page. So let me answer this the long way. Here are the overview about copyright dates on your copyright page, depending on your scenario. If your book is getting a facelift with a new cover, but the content is the same, the title is the same, nothing has changed, but you are simply putting out a new version of your book with a new ISBN, then the copyright stays the same. It is a new book with a new 2016. So what you do is you refresh the book, but it is the same content. You have not significantly changed the content. Significantly changing the content means 20% or more. If you have changed less than 20% of the content and you've simply put a new ISBN and a new cover on your book, I'm all for that. I love refreshing. I love trying again. I love new editions. It is a new edition, though. It is not a revised and expanded edition. And your copyright should read copyright 2016, 2020. So 2016, copyright 2020. You should have the copyright date 2016 on it with a comma in 2020. If you have dramatically expanded the the content of your book, your copy, and it's a revised and expanded second edition or third, but if you've really gone nuts and far more than 20% of the content has changed, then it is copyright 2020. Simple as that. And then you put down at the bottom, previous first edition published 2016, but your copyright date, if you have a revised and expanded edition, so let's say the name of your book is I'm So Cute. I'm So Cute, revised, expanded, second edition, copyright 2020. You do not mention the copyright 2016 in that top line, but down in the bottom of your copyright page, you should put previous first edition, published 2016. And the third option is, let's say you've come out with an annual edition. If you're like Writer's Digest or Rodale or some of these publishers that come out with annual editions of books, there's an annual job hunting guide or an annual college guide. The copyright reads this way. Let's say you started putting them out in 2011. The copyright would read on your copyright page, getting into college, 2021. But the copyright is copyright 2011-2020. It's not a comma. You didn't come out with a book in 2011 and in 2020. You came out with it every year. So what you need is a dash. Those are the three different options for three very general scenarios. Wendy, if there's something a little more intense with the question, or if I didn't answer it, I hope I handled your situation, because that's the three biggies that I know of. Crystal and the rest of you, I see that you are in the chat box. I will try to answer the chat box questions at the end, but if you want to go to the question box, I have to give those guys preference. I can't always see what's going on in the chat box. I'm watching Free Advice Friday on Facebook. I'm watching it everywhere else. and just trying to answer as many as I can. But please make sure that you drop your questions into the question box if you're joining me live. All right, Alfredo, congratulations on the new shift. I absolutely love that. I hope I answered Wendy's question appropriately. I'm going to answer one more question from the email list, and then we'll get back to the live questions. Ed just completed an 11-part blog about food that helped him fight off bladder cancer. He's interested in publishing this as a small book, a very slim book, to inform who's ever interested about the healing power of food. What's my advice on this? Ed, my advice is that would make a fantastic white paper or short ebook. You can put it up on Kindle. You can get it up on Overdrive through Draft to Digital. I would recommend, depending on the page count or the word count, that you put all 11 blog posts together. Get it properly edited. Make sure it's formatted properly. Again, you guys know I love Amit Seva and I love Sumi Goswami. They do great ebooks for me. If you guys want their email address, go to newshelves.com/peoplewelike. newshelves.com/peoplewelike. I'll drop it into the chat box. I have both their contact information there. I don't get anything, guys, for recommending them. I like the work they do for me. They are two very good ebook designers that I use on a regular basis. Get your book laid out as a Mobi and as an EPUB. Get a cover done. Make sure it's a good cover. If this is something you really want to make money on, then make sure your cover is solid. For those of you who have heard me in the past, I love Mila from Mila Graphics. She charges about $350 for a cover. If you want to do your own, I don't strongly recommend that, but I would recommend that if you have no other choice, going to canva.com and paying for their $13 a month for their pro edition and using them for ebook covers, even if you're only a pro for a month. Canva.com or BookBrush. BookBrush is another option. Canva.com, BookBrush, they're ways to get some nice ebook cover templates going. So, Ed, I hope that answers your question. Don't bother printing it as a booklet. I can't imagine how, I mean, it would be tough to sell as a booklet. Bookstores, libraries, you need to just put it out as an ebook format. All right, let's answer some of the questions that are being asked live. Karen is saying she's confused about the process at Ingram Sparks. She's independently had her books printed already. Her book's in a very high quality hardcover picture book with soft touch finish on the cover and in the dust jacket. But if she lists her books with Ingram, which she's been told she needs to do to purchase the library pitch program, or any bookstore or library, they need your book in Ingram or Baker and Taylor, and someone orders it from them, does Ingram then print and send it? Will Ingram print with the same quality? She was really hoping to be able to sell direct to libraries and bookstores because she's already printed many copies. And she sold, oh my gosh, she sold almost half her print run already. That's wonderful, Karen. Congratulations. So let's go through this scenario, and I can understand why Ingram Spark would be confusing. Ingram Spark is a print-on-demand company that uses digital printing and makes your book available to the bookstore, library, and online, even Amazon retailers. And they do that through their sister company, Ingram Wholesaler. Ingram Wholesaler is not the same thing as Ingram Spark. They're both owned by the Ingram family in Laverne, Tennessee. I really wish they weren't named so similarly, but what are you gonna do? Ingram Wholesaler is where bookstores and libraries will order your book from, as well as Costco and several other large retailers. Baker and Taylor is a great wholesaler that sells pretty much exclusively to the library market now. Baker and Taylor, yes, they have their entertainment division, but the book division sells exclusively, it started last July, to the library division. And if you want libraries and bookstores to order your book in any sort of large quantities, you have to go through one of those wholesalers. One of the ways to get into Ingram Wholesaler is through Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark, any book, any customer, any publisher, any author who makes their book available to Ingram Wholesaler through Ingram Spark understands the following, that Ingram Spark will print the book themselves. They will not take the books you've already printed. The reason why they want to charge you for print-on-demand printing. The quality will not be as high as some other offset printers. But Karen, I cannot, Karen, tell you whether or not the quality of Ingram Spark will be as high or lower than your book because I haven't seen the printing quality. You need to go to Ingram Spark and have them send you a sample. They're happy to do so. They will send you a sample of their high quality paper, their premium color. Lots of people like it. Lots of people don't. Lots of people have a problem with it. They want to have higher quality printing than they can get print on demand digitally. They want the offset printing. And I know that you still have 1,000 copies or more and that you wanted to sell directly to libraries and bookstores, but libraries and bookstores won't order directly from you in any sort of large quantities. They have to go through a wholesaler. If every time a library or a bookstore found a book that they really wanted to stock on their shelves, if they had to sign the person up with their accounting department, get their tax identification number into the system, get a check cut or set up a direct payment through ACH every time they worked with a new book, they'd lose their minds. They don't have that kind of time. And some libraries actually have contracts with Baker and Taylor or with Ingram that they won't order from anyone else but them. They're actual, and some libraries, being a semi-government entity, they cannot break these contracts. Now, Friends of the Library, the different organizations and volunteer organizations that work with libraries, can order direct from you, but most of them won't. They're going to want the simplicity. Your book would have to be really something special, and the demand would have to be ridiculous. It would have to be the newest Mary Clark book because she just passed away this week and you're the only one who has it. So it would really be rare. You have to get in through a wholesaler. I know you want to sell those books to them directly, but they're not going to, for the most part. A few will, but if you want national distribution, you have to go through the wholesaler. That leads me to, well, why can't I just sell the books that I've printed to Baker and Taylor or to Ingram wholesaler? Well, you can, if they choose to work for you and with you. If you sold 900 or 1,000 copies of your book in a few weeks, tell Baker and Taylor that. There's a really good chance that you can fill out an application. There's a really good chance that you might get to work with them, but it's a huge headache. You have to ship them the books. You have to pay for the shipping. You have to give them a 55 or a 60% discount, depending on what division you're in. You have to wait sometimes a year to get paid. Ingram Spark is a lot easier. I know that you want the higher quality, but if you want bookstores and libraries, print on demand is the way to go, especially through Ingram Spark with their primary and premium color. I know it's not as good, but it's your only option in many cases. And so take a deep breath. I love my books that I had printed offset, but I have to be a little less precious about the books that are going into libraries and bookstores because it's important to me doesn't mean it's always important to the customer. Karen, I wish there was a way to tell you how to sell yours to bookstores, but I haven't been able to figure that out yet. All right. Good morning, Linda. How are you? I heard your husband, Rick Lenz, guys. You guys know that Rick and Linda Lenz are author clients, but also friends of mine. I heard a new song that Rick had posted online. It sounded beautiful. All right. Dana is asking if I can recommend an offset printer. If you would like to print overseas, if you want to print 2,000 copies or more, I strongly recommend you guys go to Imago, I-M-A-G-O, and they're in New York City. Now, they're based in the U.S. and Hong Kong and everywhere, but Imago Print, I-M-A-G-O. Just Google them. I love them. They're a wonderful print broker for overseas, one of the easiest companies to work with. I love them. But if you want to work domestically, or at least stay in North America, Frisians is a good choice up in Canada. A lot of them have closed lately. A lot of them have consolidated. I used to do a lot of work with Bang, B-A-N-G. Now they have combined with other printers right now, but I still like them. So if you want to work in North America, I recommend Bang Printing. If you want to go overseas, I recommend you contact Imago. They're based in New York. One of their offices is based in New York City. All right. Crystal is asking, if I publish on demand with Ingram Spark, do I need to upload to KDP as well, if Ingram will also distribute to Amazon? And why do I need, okay, so that's the first question. I have actually written a very large blog about this, guys, and I would ask you please to go and read. Go to newshelves.com/blog. And just up in the search bar, I just want you to type in Ingram Spark, and it'll go right to the top. I've written a blog that says why I need Ingram Spark and KDP. I get very much in detail on that blog. But the short answer is KDP is the best way to make your book available on Amazon, because they will print your book comparably the same way Ingram Spark will, as long as it's a paperback. This does not count for talking hardcover. Crystal, if you've got a hardcover book, you can't use KDP right now. They're not doing that at the moment because that's an extra binding step. But if you've got a paperback book, going to KDP to make your book available, print on demand to Amazon, is the best choice for Amazon. They will make sure that your book is always in stock. They will never list it as out of stock. They will only ask you for a 40% discount off the retail price of the book to sell your book on Amazon and to and through Amazon. And you will get a lot of extra options in terms of marketing and extra attention and higher listing on the Amazon system if you are a KDP customer. But bookstores and libraries, they don't want, bookstores in particular, they don't want to order books from their biggest competitor, from Amazon. Some libraries will order from Amazon, about a third of them, but that leaves 2/3 of libraries that won't. So you need to also make your print-on-demand options through Ingram Spark so that bookstores and libraries are willing to work with you. However, when you do that, you go through the second step, which I already described in an earlier question. KDP is selling directly to Amazon that sells to the consumer, and they want a 40% discount. Ingram Spark is selling your book to Ingram Wholesaler. They need a 55% discount so they can turn around and they can give a 40% discount to the retailers, such as Amazon and Barnes & Noble and the local independents. They need to, so there's an extra step in there. And because of that, excuse me, 1 second. Diet Coke, the pause that refreshes. Because of that, you will not make as much money through Ingram Spark. As long as, if you've got a paperback book and it's 350 pages or less, as long as you're making at least $1.60 to $1.80 at the end of the day after printing and after distribution, you're in good shape with Ingram. That's all you should expect through Ingram Spark. I hope that answers your question. Crystal's saying, why do we need to catalog books with a PCIP block if Ingram and Baker and Taylor will catalog them? Ingram does not catalog them into the MARC database. MARC. Take a quick look. Also on my blog, newshelves.com/blog. If you go up to the upper right-hand corner and into the search bar and you type in PCIP, I have a whole blog about this. A PCIP is not just something that you put on your copyright page. There are tons of librarians that for 40 or 50 bucks will create a block for you. It doesn't mean it was vetted. It doesn't mean it's right. And it certainly doesn't mean that that information was then transferred into the MARC database. The MARC database is incredibly important for libraries. And most librarians who say they can do a publisher catalog and publication block for you do not have access or permission to upload their data into the MARC database. It's because they haven't been vetted. They don't have access. They do not have permission. You need that done because that MARC database goes everywhere. Baker and Taylor will put your book in their system. Ingram will put your book in their system. And if you request to get into the library system, you may or may not get there. But that does not mean that your book data has been verified and given the nod of approval and then put into the international database that is needed for libraries to be able to just pull it up. And with a few clicks of a button, they can move your book coding into their computer system with an ease that they love. And that is why you need it. All right, let's see what other questions we have. Crystal, the last question from Crystal is she was hoping to market to school libraries. She wants to know if we do that here in our databases. No, and let me tell you why we don't do a lot of school library marketing here. School libraries, their budgets are so different from public libraries. Public libraries are growing like crazy. And the use and the need for school libraries is also growing, but their budgets are shrinking. School libraries do not have any money to speak of. I mean, they are losing so much funding. It's ridiculous. And school libraries are very tough to get into, extremely difficult, especially if you are an unknown or a new author. The school librarians, and I have on my YouTube channel an interview that I did with Rebecca Ekstrom, a middle grade school librarian. It was about a year and a half ago. It was a great interview. And she explained to me, and several school librarians have backed me up on this since, that they only have a little bit of money a year, and they plan that money out with their wholesalers. And most of the wholesalers that they work with, Baker and Taylor's one of them, but they also work with wholesalers that offer them much deeper discounts and that get them the top selling books by the top selling authors as inexpensively as possible. And so most of their money is gone long before. They don't have any discretionary income after that. So I'm afraid that we've never really spent a lot of time working with school libraries for that reason. So there you go. Let's see, other questions. Oh, Dana's saying that Mila, my cover designer, is fantastic. Dana, it's so good to see you. I always love seeing you on here. All right, let me run back to Free Advice Friday for a second. Let me go to the Facebook page and see if there's any questions there. Good morning, Robbie Hess. How are you? It's so good to see you. All right, I don't see any questions on Free Advice Friday on the Facebook page, so I'm going to head back to the live questions and to the email questions. This hour flies by every week. I cannot tell you. It goes so fast. All right, let's see. Pat is saying, can you gift a school library a book? Absolutely. But when you give that book as a gift to the library, make sure that you've developed, don't just mail it to the library. Make sure you've developed a personal rapport with the librarian and ask them if it's something they would stock. If you give your book to a public library or a school library without a commitment from the librarian that it is something they're going to put on their shelves, there is a really good chance that your book will end up at the end of year bargain book sale, where they fill up a Wegmans bag of books and they sell them for $5. You know, they hand you a bag and say, here, you know, fill it up to the top, and you know, you can walk out. It's a fundraiser. So be careful. I hate to say it, but I wrote a blog about this, newshelves.com/blog. And if you go and look for, you know, library book in the search engine, you will see that just 2 or 3 weeks ago, I wrote a blog about whether or not you should give a book away to a library. Yes, but you have to do it properly. You have to, just like you were selling it, you have to contact the librarian, ask them if this is a book that would be of interest to their students or their patrons, and is this something that they would put on their shelves, because you'd be happy to give them a copy. All right. Dana's asking about offset printing, and is it really cheaper to print overseas, and how does shipping fit in price-wise? It is so much cheaper to print overseas. If you're going to print 3,000 or 4,000 copies of a book, and let's say it's a paperback, a 400-page paperback. Dana, I know your books are a little thick. So if you've got a 400-page paperback that's going to cost you $8 to print on demand, or $4 to print offset in the United States, that same book would only cost about $1.50 to print overseas. It is a huge savings. And the shipping will cost you about another 30 cents a book, so $1.80. So instead of paying $4 a book, you're paying $2 a book, worst case scenario. Now you have to wait 16 weeks for the book, because you have to get the files right, they have to get printed, they have to get approved, they overnight you the covers. But the books are gorgeous. They're gorgeous, and their colors are great, and you get paper choices, you get all sorts of different choices, just like offset printing in the US, but there's even more choices overseas, and they're far less expensive. And so, you know, I would suggest that you do the math. Get a quote for 3,000 books from Bang, get a quote from 3,000 books from Imago, or for Color Graphics. There's a Quad. There's lots of places you can go. Terry's asking if Ingram Spark has any minimum requirements in sales, reviews, etc. before they'll accept your book. No. Here's the difference again between Ingram Spark and Ingram Wholesaler. Ingram Wholesaler has a lot of minimum requirements. They need to know that you can make them, you know, $100,000 a year. I don't know exactly what their baseline is now, but it used to be that you had to prove that you could sell at least $200,000 a year worth of books before they'd even consider you. You had to have at least 25 different titles. That was the minimum. It may have gone up since then. I'm not sure. But yes, you need reviews, proof of demand to get into Ingram Wholesaler. But to get into Ingram Spark, all you need is a properly formatted file and a good attitude. You can sign up for an account. It's free. And even uploading your files, which yes, there is a fee for uploading your files, but there are so many codes out there. Just Google them. You know, free Ingram Spark upload, and you will find 20 codes that they make available. Self-Pub was one they did for a while. I think that through the end of February, they're still doing NaNoWriMo, Nemo. Google it, guys. There are no requirements to get your book in through Ingram Spark other than patience and an understanding heart and the right files. That's it. All right. Dana, it is 5 a.m. in Hawaii. What are you doing up? For heaven's sakes. All right. I don't know if we have any other questions. I think that might be it. Now I have 2 more that were emailed in, so I'll answer these. And if you guys don't have any other questions, I'll let you get on with your day. I'll let Dana go back to sleep. All right. Rosany was asking, and I'm so sorry I don't think we got to these last week. What agents are looking for nonfiction, humor, essays, stories? That's along the lines of David Sedaris or Sloane Crosley. Love her, by the way. You know, what sort of agents are looking for travel or middle grade? Guys, I know Paula mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again. Agentquery.com. Agentquery.com is a fantastic resource. And if you guys have not listened to the January 31st Free Advice Friday that we did just a week ago with Paula Munir, may I recommend that you either go to youtube.com/Amy Collins or go right to amysadvice.com and click on the link that's dated January 31st. Paula gave an hour and 10 minutes of the most amazing advice about how to find and get an agent. You guys really need to track that down. But another Rosany, another good place to go to check for agents who are accepting queries is Twitter. Twitter actually has a very robust open agents. You can search on the hashtag accepting queries. But go to agentquery.com. That's where a lot of people will announce that they are open for queries. Rosany's also asking an agent's turnaround in responding to first-time queries, and how soon could a writer tweak and resubmit proposal. Now, I know that Paula handled this. Maybe she did answer this last week, but I just want to say, if you guys have queried an agent, it depends on how long they'll get back to you. But Paula did say last week that after 90 days, if you don't hear back from them, that's pretty much a no. You may eventually hear from them and get a yes, but assume that it's a no and move on. And I do. So again, I do highly recommend that you check out that event from last week. All right. Randy's saying, Randy has a 3-volume nonfiction series. Book 3 is coming out in April, but no physical copies are available until March. Is it too late to approach the wholesalers? No. Randy and anyone who's listening, if you are a relatively unknown or new author, and if you're self-published, then you should approach the wholesalers after the book is out. They're going to need to hold the book in their hand. They're not going to just accept your word that the book is awesome. They're going to need to actually hold the book in their hand. So Randy, it is not too late. After the book comes out is when you should apply to them. Let's see. But Randy's going to release all 3 later in the year with more marketing. And should Randy approach wholesalers 6 months ahead of that and then bookstores and libraries? No. Yes, if you were Random House or HarperCollins, but no. If you are a self-published or an independent press, if you are a new and somewhat unknown author, just do what you can when you can. When the physical copies are ready, send them out for reviews to Publishers Weekly and Kirkus and all the places that I've always mentioned. And don't pay for a Kirkus review, as I've said over and over again. But send them out for review 4 months in advance. 4 months in advance. Get the physical copies into the hands of the wholesalers. Start telling the bookstores and libraries that the book exists as soon as your book is listed with a wholesaler. Please do not approach bookstores and libraries until you can send them a link or you can assure them that your book is listed and available at least for pre-order from Ingram, Baker & Taylor, Brodart, Bookazine, America West. Guys, there's lots of wholesalers out there, not just Ingram and Baker & Taylor. Bookazine, America West, Brodart, Midwest Library Wholesaler, Baker and Taylor and Ingram. So as you're going through the process, that's the order. Get out review copies right away, then apply to the wholesalers. It'll take a couple months to get into the wholesalers. They don't answer right away. And then once your book's available, reach out to bookstores and libraries. Linda wants to know when I'm coming to Los Angeles. As soon as I'm invited, Linda. Oh, Crystal, I wish I could answer your question. I'm so sorry, but I promise I will get someone in here in the next few weeks who can. And just, guys, everyone, go to facebook.com/groups/Free Advice Friday. That is where I'll be posting. If I can get Rebecca or somebody to answer these questions, I will let you know right there. And if you go to amysadvice.com and sign up to join us live, like Crystal already has, Crystal, the emails that you get, I'm going to tell you a week in advance when we're going to be discussing school libraries. So you guys will know. Please make sure you mark your calendars for February 21st. Jane Friedman is joining me to talk all about fiction and authors and the business. And she and I will be answering your questions together. Jane Friedman is, I have to say, my hero. She is who I want to be when I grow up, which is weird because she's much younger than I am. But man, I admire her, and I'm so thrilled. She's going to be joining me here on Free Advice Friday. Mark your calendars for the 21st of February. That is it for this week's edition of Free Advice Friday. I want to remind you to please go to amysadvice.com. You can email me questions at questions@amysadvice.com, and you can always find us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/Free Advice Friday. I will see you guys next Friday. I really look forward to joining you here. I will be here at 10 a.m. Eastern, as I always am, and I hope you have a wonderful time, a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week on Free Advice Friday.